This show is sponsored by Clinstone, kitchen and bathroom specialists. Welcome to High Chai today. We've got with us Joti Gata-Aura. She's a teacher, a model, a presenter, and she has vitiligo. She was diagnosed 21 years ago, and I'd really like to share her story with you today. So welcome, Joti.
Thank you. Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So you look amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
But tell us a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? And what's your family like? And tell us a bit about who you are.
Yeah, of course. I grew up in London, so a London girl. And I'm a teacher. I teach in high school, but I'm kind of going into presenting. I've had vitiligo for 21 years, so this wasn't a condition I was born with. Mm-hmm. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as well in our conversation. I've always been quite an open, confident person, but when I got to 21, my life changed quite significantly.
Yeah, of course. What happened? How did you, how was it diagnosed? What did you discover?
Well, I was living in Spain. I was studying Spanish, and I came back from my year abroad. And, in the south of Spain, it's really hot. So I just thought, I've got this tan and my tan's just fading and I've got different colour pigmentation. But as the tan started to fade, I noticed this white spot on my left arm, and it was just there. And I remember sort of saying to friends and family, like, what is this? It must be from sun exposure or maybe something I've eaten. We didn't think anything of it. We just thought...
Sometimes you go in a swimming pool and you get patchy from like the chlorine and stuff like that. That's quite common, isn't it? So you didn't think it was anything to worry about?
Didn't think it was anything to worry about until I noticed it getting bigger.
Oh, okay.
And when it started to get bigger and bigger, I realised, gosh, this isn't right. Mm-hmm. So within a couple of weeks, actually, I did go to the GP, and the GP diagnosed it straight away as vitiligo. So back in 1999, 2000, GPs, they were aware of the condition, but there was very little that they could do apart from just offer me some PUVA treatment at a hospital. PUVA treatment, which was like a light treatment that you could do, which could reverse the skin.
And is there a procedure for diagnosis? Or do they just look at it and they just know?
She knew straight away.
Okay.
She knew straight away. But her initial words will always, stay with me, because what she said was something that just impacted me so much. She said, this could spread, this could take over your whole body, or it could stay as a spot in the same place and not change.
Wow.
And with me, mine spread rapidly. And the more I was stressing out about this, the more it was spreading.
That's so much uncertainty to deal with in just that one sentence, because it's so visible. How did you cope with the fact that it was so visible? What did you do? It's an extremely visible condition. You can sort of see my hands, my arms, my whole body is pretty much now like 90% white. But I had to go through the initial few years of like my skin being in patches, and I didn't come to terms with that for like many years. So I covered up, because that's how I dealt with it. That's how I dealt with the condition. For me, to cover up made me feel normal. To me, to cover up made me feel like no one would look at me like I was a black sheep. At 21 years old, when you're going out, your friends are going out, that's the age you start getting into relationships and, partying and university, first few years of work. How
you cover up, but you hide it. But can you actually ever really hide what's inside? Like, are you still, even if you're covered up, are you still conscious?
Do you know what, Sam? When I covered up my body, I covered up my personality. I suppressed my personality. I became a recluse. I disconnected from my friends. I took some time out for myself after uni to really sort of figure out like where I was mentally in my head, because it really did break me. And it just stripped away my identity. It stripped away who I was, because I've always been a really confident, bubbly person. And when I first started working, I was working in Canary Wharf, quite a pretentious area. And, you know, it's all about how you look, how you dress, you know, your appearance is key when you're working in the city. And I used to cover up my skin. I would spend 2 hours before work covering up so that not anyone would see a spot on my face, on my hands, on my arms. I'd buy long sleeve clothing just to, you know, just fit in so people wouldn't look. So I was secure within myself, because it was the only way that I would feel like I was part of everyone else.
And when you met new people, how were you with them?
Didn't tell them. Hid it. And it would take me a really long time to trust them, to then be able to, a close friend of mine who I used to work with at Barclays, it took me a good 2 years to get to know her. And when we went away for a weekend once, I knew I'd have to tell her, because she'd see, because we'd share a room together. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time, but the response was really overwhelming. It was like, oh, okay. It wasn't anything big, but that's because those were people that I got to know, who got to know me for me. And I was always fearful of judgment from people who didn't know me. Yeah. Because essentially, when you're in a working environment, you're judged on how you perform. Mm-hmm. And I put appearance into that as well. And I always thought, you know, I'd be judged on everything.
When you told her, and it wasn't like you expected, did that make you feel that you could tell other people or not?
No.
Really?
No. Okay. So that wasn't the changing point for me. I still covered up because I wanted to feel the same as everyone else. Like if I was going out for dinner, I didn't want to be looked at. I didn't want to be seen as different. It was all about fitting in. And, you know, when you're 21 years old, you're young, you're vulnerable, your world's your oyster, you've got so much to give, so much to offer, so much to look forward to. And when all your plans are crushed by this visible appearance, this condition, it just strips everything away from you. So no, I didn't. I carried on covering up because I was still trying to come to terms with this in my head. I wasn't ready yet to start talking about it. I wasn't ready yet to start opening up. And it was still spreading on my body. And it was something I still could not get my head around.
Crushed is a really big word to use. That's a lot to go through mentally. Where were you in terms of your kind of mental state?
Rock bottom.
What did it impact in your life?
Everything. Working life. When I was in Barclays, I decided I wanted to go into teaching, and I wanted to be able to work with young people because I studied Spanish and I wanted to teach Spanish. And I held back for so long because I thought these kids they're gonna just destroy me in that classroom. When they see my skin, they are gonna completely rip me apart. I'm not going to have the confidence to stand up in front of all these kids and teach. So I held back from that. I held back from meeting up with friends because I didn't have the motivation to drive. I didn't have the happiness inside me to want to be around people, to socialize. You know, if I knew that I was going to be going out with a couple of friends who invited other people that I didn't know, I didn't want to be around them because they're going to judge me. So if I did end up going, again, I would cover from head to toe.
So when everyone's going out clubbing in teeny meeny skirts and little boob tubes, how were you dressed?
To be honest, I've never been someone, I've always been someone really modest in my dressing, so that didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if I did want to wear a skirt down to my knees and something elegant or whatever, or sleeveless, a sleeveless top like I'm wearing now, it would hold me back. I would always be looking for the long sleeve clothing in shops, searching for that item to wear weeks in advance. And that would go hand in hand with like Indian weddings, parties, functions, getting that sort of argamise that was long sleeved, covering up right to here. I remember going to Southall once and I remember finding this outfit that was down to here, but it had frills and covered my hands. And I was like, oh my God, it even covers my hands. This is brilliant. No one's going to see this now. I don't even have to put makeup here because it's going to cover my hands. Because that's the way I was thinking. Wow. I didn't want anyone to see. I like make sure my pajama were covering my feet so people couldn't see my feet in the gurdwara. That's how far I went.
And Joti, what about boys and boyfriends and stuff like that?
So I was really lucky. I met my husband before I had vitiligo. So he was there when he saw the transition, and he got to know me for me. And then, I was lucky that he supported me with this condition. But I have met so many people who are struggling to meet people with a skin condition, people who've got a skin condition who are struggling to meet others because of that fear of judgment, of what they're going to think. Because amongst our Asian community, there is very much this stigma that if your partner's got it, your kids could have it, and it's going to spread and it's contagious. There are so many sort of.
It's not, obviously, and it's not hereditary either.
Well, they say it's not hereditary, but there is also a lot of medical evidence that suggests that it skips a generation.
So did your grandparents' generation? Anyone?
No one had it. No one had it. I mean, I lived with my grandparents, and no. So it was a bit of a shock when I had this condition when I was diagnosed.
I know we're talking about you, but I want to talk about someone else as well now. So it's great that your husband was supportive, but being supportive to your condition is one thing, but you changed as a person, and that must have impacted him big time, because you probably became a shadow of yourself and not the person that he fell in love with initially. How did that work in your relationship?
That was tough. That was so tough, Sam, because initially it took away me and my personality.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of repressed me. Then when I was doing a treatment, I found a steroid treatment that worked. So this is something I do want to talk about as well. Before I fell pregnant with my daughter, I ended up doing a treatment for 3 years and my skin reversed and I was 90% brown again. And I was so happy, Sam, because that meant like I could be normal again, But then when I fell pregnant, I realised that I didn't want to do this treatment anymore because it was steroid injections, and it was really exhausting. So I went from this person, obviously, when I met him, from being really bubbly and really extrovert to then being an introvert because of what I was going through and all the changes. Then I found a treatment. Again, my mood was lifted and I was very positive. But then it was all stripped back down again when I stopped treatment because I was pregnant with my daughter. There was very much a very, I would say, it was a very stressful time on the marriage because I was changing so much. I was going through so many different emotions, mentally, physically, emotionally. All of this was like weighted on my shoulders. And yet I was still expected to carry the role of a daughter, a wife, go to work, put a smile on, teach, be this confident person, when really I was hiding inside. So yeah, it impacted on my marriage massively.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. So Thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you've transitioned into this butterfly that you are now.
Great, thanks.
So thank you, Joti, and we'll join back after the break. This show is sponsored by Clinstone, kitchen and bathroom specialists. This show is sponsored by Clinstone, kitchen and bathroom specialists. Welcome back. So we're with Joti and we're talking about vitiligo. And where we've got up to is your marriage. So your husband was really supportive. He did go through his emotional times as well. What was your relationship? Where was the kind of stress?
I think the stress was more with him, because he was like, just stop all of this. Stop all these treatments, you're spending time, money, you're exhausted. And I was the one that kept battling it, because in my head, I wasn't there. I wasn't happy with myself. And if I wasn't happy with myself, then I was going to carry on striving until I got to that point. And I was going to carry on going,
Yeah.
And I did carry on going. After I had my daughter, I went back on the treatment.
Oh, okay.
And I did it for about 4 months, and then I was like, do you know what, breastfeeding is like taking over my life. I haven't got the energy for this. I can't do it. And that's just when I thought, you know what, I don't have the energy for this anymore. And I suppose that was kind of when I wanted to just be free of treatment. So gradually, I started thinking about what life would be like if I didn't continue treatment.
And did that scare you?
Well, as my daughter started to turn about 9 months to a year, we signed up with the gym and they offered swimming lessons. And it was mother and baby swimming lessons, and I was dying to do it. And I'm thinking, if I've covered up my body for so long, how am I going to get in a pool? Because how do you go from covering up your body to getting in a swimming pool? Like, how am I going to do it? There's no way I can do it. So that was another battle. And I was like, I have to do this for her. I want to do this for her. This is my time with her. And I'm here worrying about my skin. So I took a first step and I ended up going into the pool with her, but it was like dashing in and dashing out, that kind of thing. Submerging yourself in the water, getting in the water so that, no one would see you. But then after that, I started to gain a little bit more confidence. I did a little documentary for BBC One, and that really was another turning point for me, where I ended up going on and talking about vitiligo quite openly. And that was a really good opportunity for everyone around me in the community, friends and family, to see and to understand the condition and just to educate them further without me having to confront them and talk to them about it.
That's huge, though. Massive. I mean, that's huge on so many levels. I think it's huge because it shows how much your priorities change once you have children, and it, life really doesn't become about you. It's totally about them and what you can give them, and you will put them ahead of everything, even something that has impacted you for the kind of 12 years beforehand, before having a child. And the stress that you go through and the whole treatment and everything, and then when this little baby comes along, it's just your world. So it makes such a huge difference. And I guess that also gives you confidence, because now it's no longer about you. And then so you went on national television. So all you'd done is got into a pool a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
And then that is a huge, huge step.
Yeah.
Going on to national television. And I mean, I remember you telling me that your extended family didn't know so much either. Your parents.
My parents, yeah, they knew, they were there, they were my backbone, my sister, but I chose to keep it a secret because I wasn't mentally ready to deal with all that external pressure.
Yeah.
So that was a really big turning point for me.
Huge.
And, you know, and what that taught me was that, you know, all the kids that I've taught in school learned from that experience. It was all about body positivity and accepting yourself for who you are. My children watched it with such pride, knowing that, oh my God, that's mummy, and you know, this is her and this is who she is, and she loves herself for who she is. And you know, I think it's so important to create young people who've got confidence and resilience, because we are surrounded by so much pressure, not just within our community, but within our society, to look a certain way. And I feel that you go to a wedding and it's all about, oh, you look beautiful, you're like a doll. Oh my God, such nice shoes. Oh my God, your hair. And yeah, I am exaggerating that, because that is exactly what it is. You're a Barbie doll at these places to get these compliments. And if you don't fit into that box, you feel like an outcast. And that doesn't even just go with, you know, skin condition. It goes with so many other parts of, you know, body positivity, and also, you know, it could be alopecia, eczema, psoriasis, you know, the list goes on, you know. And I think all of these sort of things, they do need to be brought to the table, you know, they do need to be talked about, because times are changing. I see times changing. I'm working a lot with people who have visible skin conditions, and I'm raising awareness and taking part in so many projects. I'm speaking about this really openly because it's something so close to my heart. How you see me now isn't how I was all those years ago.
No.
It took years and years and years of confidence. It took years of building that resilience, and being able to share that now with people is overwhelming.
How did you feel like the first time you went on television?
Oh, I was so nervous, and the producer said to me, take your makeup off, take your makeup off. And I was like, no, I'm not ready for it. All I exposed were my arms. I'm doing this interview with you, hardly any makeup. I just, it's not because I want to show everyone that, oh, I can, you know, it's where I am now in my journey. This is where I am. I'm confident, I'm happy, I feel secure, I feel really beautiful, and I don't need people to tell me that.
And how do your kids, how do they kind of look at you and look at other people, and how do they feel about what mummy's doing now in the community?
They are so proud of me, because they know that mummy is different, but I've prepped them up. So if children at school say to them, why are your mum's hands white? They can confidently say, mummy's got a skin condition called vitiligo. It's nothing harmful, it just means her skin's turning white. They can confidently say that at a child's age, at like 9 and 7 years old, without having to go into too much detail. I want to be that inspiration for the kids that I teach at school. And, you know, I want people to be able to see that being able to have a skin condition doesn't hold you back. You can still achieve what you want to achieve. You can still go out and do all the things that you want to do. I'm transitioning from being a teacher, going into the media. I'm doing all the things that I love doing. But if my mindset didn't change, Zam, I could still be in that same place. And I'm working with loads of people on my Instagram platform who haven't yet reached that stage. No. They are struggling massively with their skin.
Do you think, I know that the timing was right for you, you know, and having a child and doing that whole priority setting was the right thing, the right timing for you to be like, okay, I don't want to hide this anymore. Do you think that if you'd started out by being braver or more kind of self-accepting, do you think your life would be different right now? Do you wish that you'd done it earlier?
I think everyone moves at their own pace, their own journey. It's when they're mentally ready for it. And I moved at that pace when it was right for me. And the reason I know that is because I have people coming to me saying, how did you get to where you are now? How have you become that way? And I have to keep telling them it took me 21 years.
Yeah.
This didn't happen overnight.
No.
It took me 21 years. And I think it's really important that people out there who are struggling with anything that makes them feel like they don't essentially fit into this box, for them to know that they need to do this in their own time. But they've got to look out for support groups, and they've got to reach out, and talk to people. I think communication for me was really important. I had my family to talk to, my husband to talk to, and a couple of close friends that really kind of got it. And sometimes, when you don't talk to people and you don't communicate with them, you can end up making things worse because you're kind of keeping it all inside, and it just mentally can destroy you even further.
So, so back then there wasn't so many resources, right? But there are, I know this year National Vitiligo Day was massive.
It was
it was all over
huge.
Instagram, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I knew there was a day until this year, because the impact was so big. And so many people are actually so much more comfortable in their skin. And I think it's due to initiatives like this. And what kind of things are you involved in right now?
There are so many awareness days, Sam. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I do take part in all the kind of media projects that are presented. So I write for magazines, I write for articles for magazines. I've gone on to Sonny and Shay show, BBC Asian Network, to talk about this and raise awareness. There was a wonderful project last year that I really want to share. It was a Good Housekeeping body positivity campaign to talk about being beautiful in your own skin and confident in who you are, which was really, really amazing to take part of. I took part in the opening of London Fashion Week, which was all about diversity and inclusivity.
That's amazing.
So models that represent that, I felt a bit intimidated because you did have your 6'2" models, size 0, going down that catwalk.
We've been conditioned for so long to look to the media for signs of perfection, and so when you see models in ad campaigns, and when you see them on billboards, and when you see like the perfume adverts, for the last 30, 40 years, ever since I can remember anyway, it's always been this almost unattainable perfection. And then when Photoshop came in, then everything was Photoshop, and then which made it even more unattainable. But now and I have seen a lot more, especially with initiatives like Dove, and like you were saying, the Good Housekeeping, and even like at London Fashion Week, and there's so many initiatives at the moment that people are just loving the plus size, loving, if people are amputees, if they have vitiligo, if they're different to look at to what we've been used to seeing in the media. But they're actually real. But I think there is that element of people are change averse, and they're used to seeing this perfection on media, and all of a sudden it's not so perfect visually, aesthetically, but it is perfect because it's real.
And funny you say that actually as well, because there have been some apps that have been created so you can put yourself in these apps like you've got vitiligo. And it's like, we talked about it in the community as well. And we've had discussions about this. And it's absolutely absurd that people would put Photoshop themselves and put a vitiligo, Photoshop a photo, above their image and change themselves essentially to look like they've got vitiligo. Like it's become this kind of cool skin condition to have. But actually, what people need to think about before doing something like that is to understand the psychological effects of what someone has gone through with the condition. It just seems absolutely crazy that people are kind of conforming to this way of like, this is cool, you know, we need to do this because this is, it's not cool. We're raising awareness. I'm raising awareness and doing it through my social media platform on Instagram. And, you know, we're really fortunate that people are educating others and, you know, breaking down those barriers and those taboos. But things like that, they do baffle me.
Yeah, you never know what the psychology is behind something like that. How would you know, I guess, to walk a day in someone's shoes when you, maybe it's that first step in even thinking, how would I feel if I was like this permanently? Actually, it doesn't change who you are. And I think in certain cases, like it's made you stronger and more determined eventually to kind of fight a cause and put that out there. So I think it's amazing what you're doing, and that journey that you've taken. I think it's so useful to know that you came from a place, like from years of you know, self-awareness, self-doubt, covering up, you know, even pressures in your marriage, your own mental health, because I think people are going through it now when they've just discovered they've had it, or they've had it for a few years, and they're where you were at that time. And I think it's very easy to look at someone who is now on Instagram and present to think, oh, well, they took to it really easily. But it's so good of you to share your journey with us, and really appreciate it, because
Thanks,
I think
Sam.
you're going to help so many people, and not just with vitiligo awareness, but I think just the whole body positivity, body image is really important.
Thanks, Sam. I think we get to the point where, well, I don't know, maybe this is something that I shouldn't say, but I'm just tired of seeing these perfect images on magazines. And what is perfect? What is beautiful? You know, maybe we need to redefine beautiful.
Yeah, and I think you are beautiful. Everyone's beautiful. You know, beauty's from within, beauty's outside, beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, colours, forms. So I think we just, as a community, need to embrace all the differences that we have. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You're very welcome, and thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on High Chai. This show is sponsored by Clinstone, kitchen and bathroom specialists.